I got you now.
Yes, good morning.
Oh, Maddie, I tell you what, I am so excited because great weather means getting outside, slip, slop, slap, hat on, and just enjoy. For many of us, these could be our last really good days of what feels kind of like summer. So,
Yeah.
so what do you think? What would you be doing this weekend?
Well, pleasantly surprised by, a warmer weather weekend, I would say. But, I think sometimes we do let the weather dictate what we do on our weekends, don't we? And that's fair enough because when it's cold, you want to be cozy and snuggling up. But, there are lots of things to do outdoors even when the weather is feeling a bit dreary. And I thought today I could talk about careers in the outdoors.
Fantastic. All right, talk to me because I do have a son that is doing year 12 at the moment, and I always try to say to him there are jobs out there that don't even exist yet, but there's also jobs that you might not have even considered outside the realm of the standard teaching, nursing, trade, all of those types of things. So, Maddie, what would you
Yeah, that's right.
suggest to be if we love being outdoors?
Yeah, I think just to your point, a lot of people don't realize the diverse careers that you can get in the careers in the outdoors industry. And it for me personally, it really came from just a love for being outdoors and also a desire to lead a team of people. And when I combine those two things, I realized that I could share that passion for being outdoors with lots of young people and at the same time lead them and teach them new skills. So I think we're seeing right now it's a really relevant thing because there's a growing interest in, nature, sustainability, and also to have a work-life balance. And a career in the outdoors definitely, helps with those things.
So, I mean, this is not for just school leavers. I mean, this could be for anyone. I'm a huge believer in changing careers mid-stream, mid-life, whenever you need to, really. So, if someone was thinking, okay, I want a job that gets me outdoors, I want to be out there every day, I want to be in nature, I want to make a difference. I mean, what type of qualifications, where should we start to look?
Yeah, good question. For a school leaver, I think a good place to look is probably clubs and groups in your community. A good one is always Scouts because it is those hard skills in the outdoors. But there are so many other clubs. There's paddling groups. If you're living on the coast, then there's groups that will surf and like Facebook these days is so handy for looking and finding those groups to get involved in. Smaller organisations, there's a lot of camps in Victoria that we call them residential camps. They are getting students up to the camps participating in activities, but they're actually sleeping in a cabin or a bed at night. So as a school leaver, just reaching out to organisations and camps like that to go and, do some work experience, maybe get a job in the kitchen just to see what the environment's like. And some pathways to training. Well, there's multiple TAFE courses that you can do to gain a certificate. There's lots of short courses that you can do that are very specified towards a particular activity. They range from things like, a bushwalking certificate or a wilderness first aid certificate, or you could get your stand-up paddleboarding instructor certificate. Whitewater paddling. The list goes on and on for those types of courses. And then, of course, you mentioned teaching outdoor ed within a school. So to become a teacher, of course, you need to go to uni and study a master's. So that's sort of a very brief description of some of the pathways into it. But just going back to my first point, you don't have to go and study straight away. I think just reaching out to smaller organisations or clubs and groups is a great way in.
As you know, what I love about what I was hearing you talk about is that it's not just actually a school pathway either. It's almost about finding your hobby, finding that's something that you love to do, and then turning it into a career or the way that you're going to spend your time. It's one of those great moments, isn't it, where you can go, wait a minute, you mentioned paddleboarding, I really love paddleboarding. So imagine if I could do this every day and get paid for it. That's essentially what you're encouraging us to look at.
It is a bit like that. And, some of the things I've mentioned are quite adventurous activities. But, of course, there's probably a lot of people that assume a career in the outdoors requires you to be an adventurous type that is always looking for an adrenaline rush. But, in fact, this world is just broadening and broadening. And there's bush adventure therapy clubs and groups and organisations. And that's actually a job now, to be a bush adventure therapist. And recently I went to the Botanic Gardens in Melbourne. I travelled into the city and, in the city at the Botanic Gardens, so surrounded by nature, they do Shinrin-yoku courses, so forest bathing, which is a Japanese method and practice to, be getting outdoors and tuning into your senses. So, yeah, I mean, I've only listed a couple there, but you don't have to be adventurous in these activities. It is just about being outside in nature in whatever form that is for you.
Well, Maddy, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. Maddy Bennett is the Operations Officer for Outdoors Victoria. Maddy, the best place for us to maybe start our outdoor adventures, where should we head if we want more information?
Yeah, if you are interested in learning more about a particular career in the outdoors, please jump onto our website. We've got a whole portal there with tons of resources and even a quiz that you can do. Feel free to reach to me at info@outdoorsvictoria.org.au. We'd love to hear from you.
Maddy, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All